So I think in terms of future skills, it's heavily tech driven, isn't it? We're seeing the development of AI moving as fast as it is doing. And if you look at the World Economic Forum skills, they talk about all sorts of future skills, AI literacy, the ability to interpret, AI generated outcomes, problem solving, critical thinking. All of these things are just going to expand more and more as AI delivers the knowledge. It's how we interpret that knowledge. So I think every workplace is going to look at, not is AI going to be something that I use, but it's more how do I collaborate with that because it's here to stay. So I think for young people, taking a look at those World Economic Forum skills, which OECD also use to interpret what future skills are going to look like, would be a wise thing to do.
Recognise that you're never the finished article. No matter how good you are, no matter what the results were in that last exam you did, no matter how good that last piece of work, that you will be judged on the next piece of work that you do. And that can mean that you have to change because the next client may not want exactly what it was that the last client did. And you could deliver the same piece of work and they don't like it. So you constantly have to be adaptable. You have to recognise that you're not finished. You can learn something new every single day.
There's so many studies at the moment saying that people that don't use AI, so for example, the older generation, they will be, sorry, Simon, they will be overtaken by lawyers that are using AI because at the end of the day, it is integrated in a lot of the work that we do. AI helps you so much and it makes your life so much more efficient. You can get so much more work done within 8 hours that you're working. So if you're not using it, maybe, consistently, then you are going to get taken over by people that are using it because at the end of the day, it's there as a helping tool, it's the starting point, not the whole bit. So it's really important that you can acknowledge the fact that AI is really helpful and it can be really useful, but there's certain stuff that you have to be able to do on your own and kind of show the initiative and show that you can actually deliver the work by yourself. So even though it is really helpful, it's really important to have your own voice as well.
I think AI is definitely a skill that is on everyone's radar at the moment. It's the hot topic, but I think in order to, know what skills organizations want, if you're trying to predict what the trends are and almost get ahead of the market, sometimes that can put you at disadvantage because if that's not your area of interest or something that you personally care about and you're just doing it because it's the most in-demand skill at the time, you might find yourself in a few years not enjoying what you're doing. So I'm a big believer, again, in understanding and having the self-awareness of what you enjoy as a person, what your strengths are, what you'd like to learn and what you're curious about in life. And then really pursuing that and trying to get an understanding of how you can develop those skills and experience. Sometimes it might just be a hobby, something you do on the side, whether it's content creation or design, for example. It may be something you haven't even thought of as a skill. But again, understanding and looking out into the market and seeing how could I apply those skills in my role today at work, or how could I use those things and bring that experience and knowledge outside of work into my daily sort of office life, as it were. So if you're trying to, again, develop AI skills or digital skills, that might be your area of interest. Just being curious, first of all, looking for opportunities to learn those skills, speaking to people in the organization and say, how are we using those skills today? That could be a great way, again, of getting some more experience and demonstrating your own expertise as well. One
of the main skills to adopt going into early careers is just being presentable and being able to just talk to people. I think that's a massive thing. If you struggle talking to people, don't get me wrong, you're not going to fail or not succeed, but I think talking to people really helps because you can it just makes your life a lot easier and your job a lot easier if you're able to communicate with different people in your platform. I think you can agree with me. Having to talk to so many different people, it's 90% of the job, communicating, figuring out what to do, what not to do. And you're going to always be working with people, no matter where you are in the business.
Staying up to date is really tough right now. I don't think anybody can stay up to date with everything. But there are things you can do. So think about the networks that you've got online. Think about maybe things you can subscribe to. Like LinkedIn's a really cool tool. Think about what networks can be part of in terms of LinkedIn. What papers can you subscribe to? Learn about AI to help AI keep you up to date. So AI tools can help aggregate knowledge for you very quickly and very easily. So probably one thing it is worth doing, if you don't already know how to use some of the basics of AI, learn how to do that. And that will help then do a lot of the knowledge aggregation for you quickly and easily. But then also use your network. So yeah, there's the technical side, but there's also the people side. So use your network and think, how do I get a coffee chat with someone to say what's going on with, particularly in another department or another organisation, and think about your network outside of the company you're working with. So where possible, have a network with other organisations. Don't just stay in the silo of where you work.
So I think one of the most important things is actually always having a growth mindset. So not always thinking your skills now are what your skills are going to be in the future, and also having a curious mind. So actually what is coming up in the future, and talking to people and being inquisitive, and then you'll get an opportunity to learn what different people are doing, jobs that you never knew existed that are actually available to you. So again, it is about building that network, and then you know what you might need for the future.
I think it's important to be adaptable, to develop your skills. You're going to have to do different things that you're not necessarily expecting to do when someone asks you to do them. So it is important to be prepared to say yes to some things that maybe might be outside your comfort zone, but they're like, people will always make you feel comfortable and make sure that and support you into doing a good job.
I think AI is obviously a really big thing, and digitalisation in general. So if you can start to learn to navigate that, that's going to really support your career. As I think the jobs will still be there, but they'll just be different. So if you can learn, how to use a computer and AI, it's going to really help you.
AI is such an exciting space to be talking about at the moment. I think we can all agree now that AI isn't going to just come and take our jobs. But are people who use AI going to take your job if you don't use AI? I think the important skills that you'll need in the world of what AI is going to bring to us in our careers is analytical skills. That's still something that needs to be human-led. The social skills of interacting with people on a human level, and that's where networking and personal branding can come in as just being so important, because AI still can't do that bit for you. Being able to apply the knowledge to the client's actual problem and being able to problem solve for them as well is something that AI can assist you with, of course, but ultimately it needs to be you driving that forwards.
I think honestly the best tactic for myself personally is just chucking myself at it, not giving myself a second thought, just put myself out there and just do things, because the more I procrastinate about things, the less likely I am to do it. So I found for me, if I just don't give myself a choice, that's how I learn best, because then I just have to do it. And then once I've done it, then it's so much easier to keep going. Like this, for example, this is my first interview that I've done, but I'm quite enjoying it, and glad I put myself forward.
I think it's kind of breaking that comfort zone. I think that's like kind of the really important thing, is always being uncomfortable. I think it's kind of always being hungry to learn, always having a passion to do something different with your day, trying to be better. I think it's you've got to really want it, and you've got to be passionate, but you can't do that without kind of a love of what you do, or like kind of an interest. So I think it kind of all loops back into one thing, really.
I feel like for me, a massive thing that has changed about me is my confidence. Back in school, you'd barely catch a peep out of me, especially if I didn't know like certain teachers, let's say, or we're on a school trip and there's a guide or something, you wouldn't hear me talking. But since being at Rolls, I've noticed a massive change in my confidence as a person, and I think it's a really good skill to have, because it gets you out there more. People get to know you because you put yourself out there. You have the confidence to do that, and I think it's really important to be able to do that. And I never thought it would be so important.
I think the most significant attribute that employers are looking for, and not just young people, but anyone who comes to work for them, is probably critical thinking. You know, the ability to do so much more than just regurgitate information and just to present things that you think the other person's looking for. And critical thinking it's a very subjective term depending on what area of employment you're looking to work into. But I think showing that you're consistently thinking and reflecting upon things, it's a real life skill that can't be taught necessarily in a school environment or a working environment. And it's something that you have to be intrinsically motivated to do and consistently be reassessing to evaluate. But I mean, I think there's so many life skills that employers are looking for that educational models don't necessarily put front and foremost. The idea of being a risk taker, the idea of being open-minded, the idea of being empathetic, all of these skills that aren't necessarily taught inside the classroom, actually you might find are much more important than what university you went to and how many A levels you got.